Hi everyone, it's Jacqueline. Today I will be talking about transgender rights, policies, and acceptance. So there are a lot of different definitions for transgender. The most common one seems to be an umbrella term used to define a large group of people that defy gender norms, such as drag kings and queens, cross-dressers, intersex people, and transsexuals. There's also a definition that states people who have a sexual identity that is not clearly male or clearly female. Also, one of the best definitions I found is being a person who identifies with or expresses a gender identity that differs from the one which corresponds to the person's sex at birth. There does not seem to be a total agreement with which definition is the best. That's why there's quite a few of them. And there also, unfortunately, is no way to know how many transgender people are living in the US. One survey does state that there are about 700,000 within the US alone. However, since everything is self reported, we don't know the true number. This is a very interesting map that I found. It is transgender rights by state. As you can see within the legend, the colors correspond with each state being very good, good, poor, very poor, or unacceptable. Not surprisingly, California ranked one of the best. It has statewide non discrimination laws, access to health care, multiple advocacy and community centers that cater only to transgender people and their families that are going through transition. Kentucky, unfortunately, was ranked one of the worst and is within the unacceptable range. There was actually a senator that filed for a bill for separate bathrooms for persons who are transgender, and the families can actually sue a school if a transgender child uses the same bathroom as their child. Um, Surprisingly, actually, New York, even though I think that we're pretty liberal, we were still ranked very poor because we have no rights protecting transgender individuals within the workplace or schools or any other area. Employers actually have the right to terminate an employee due to the fact that they are transgender and don't even need to give any other reason. Now, with circles of sexuality, every circle of sexuality relates to human life, as we've learned. For transgender persons, many of the circles may seem backwards just due to the fact of the sex that they were assigned at birth and the sex that they feel that they are. Many would have to deal with never reproducing if they choose to have gender reassignment surgery, and also just always explaining their sexual identity and who they feel they are as opposed to how they were born. Trauma informed care is definitely extremely important within a person's life, especially if they are transgender. To recap, trauma informed care principles are safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. Um, Unfortunately, one of the studies that I read states that transgender people face barriers in service delivery due to the lack of awareness and competence of the staff. So, if they were to use trauma informed care more, then that would probably reduce the barriers. Also, transgender youth are at risk for anxiety, depression, self harm, suicidal ideation, psychiatric hospitalizations, homelessness, exploitation, and abuse. So, if trauma informed care was put into a lot of programs, we can certainly decrease all of those all of those comorbid illnesses. In the aspect of social justice, within the US, there needs to be more awareness of treating violence against transgender people as seriously as any other violent act. Unfortunately, there was a case where in New York City a man beat a transgender woman to death simply because she was transgender. And unfortunately, there haven't even been any arrests made within the case, as far as I'm aware of. Also, not many transgender people who experience violence want to speak up due to the fear of retaliation from the person that they're telling. On an international scale, actually, Iran recommends surgery if any person may be other than straight. They recommend gender reassignment surgery. And for some people who are transgender who choose to have gender reassignment surgery, that's great because the government actually helps pay for it. However, if a person is anything but, for example, if they're homosexual or they're transgender but do not want gender reassignment surgery, the government basically takes that choice away from them. I wanted to include this slide that I made. I actually thought it was pretty interesting. Can you tell or does it matter? Some of the people on here are transgender and some are not. So, obviously, you can probably tell, well, Caitlyn Jenner's on here, and Laverne Cox is on here. But other than that, if we don't know, if someone does not come out in public and says that they're transgender, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. So, that's my presentation. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.